Hello everyone. We're gardening here this morning on the western slope of Colorado at an elevation of 7,500 feet. And it's mid-May. It's time to get the show on the road in the greenhouse here. And wanted to make a little video here of how I prepare my dirt in the springtime. I've gotten a lot of questions about where I get the dirt and how I, turn regular topsoil into something that's a little bit more useful. Colorado's not really known for having the greatest growing dirt. There are a few exceptions, but the high mountain valleys is not really one of them. So starting with what was originally here, I cleared the grass out and saved as much of the topsoil as I could when I built these greenhouses. And I filled the beds with as much of that as I could use, and then I imported some topsoil from a local gravel pit, a few different construction sites, kind of wherever I could find it over the years. I've kind of just brought it in, but it always needs a lot of help. It's never just ready to go. So it needs compost. It needs, I've used composted sheep and peat moss, sheep manure and peat moss. I've used straight peat moss, all types of other organic gardening supplements, and then just my own compost. The leaves of the trees every year and the leftover garden matter from the year before, break all that stuff down in the compost pile and it gets returned back to the soil. So I started off the spring early, about a month ago. As soon as everything kind of thawed out, I tilled these beds down 18 inches or so, a good full depth on my turning fork. Since then, I broke up all the pieces. Since then, I just water it, and I've added a 2-inch layer of compost on the top of it. I've been keeping it moist. I've been getting the worms in here to do their thing. These gardens are open to the floor below, so the worms come and go, and man, there's a lot of them in here this year. And there always is, every scoop is a dozen worms. So they're in here, they're doing their thing, and that says the dirt's warm enough that we need to be doing our thing in here. So I've had a 2-inch layer of compost on top of a bed that I've already mixed down pretty deep, and then I turn in my compost. I only want to probably get it down about that 8 inches or so is probably good for this year, 8 to 12 inches. So I just go through and I lightly break and flip each piece, let that compost fall down in there. Okay, if you look at this dirt, it makes a tight ball when it's wet and good to go, but it doesn't really stick together into a ball. It just easily crumbles apart. Pretty good level of organic matter in there. So you just stir that stuff, right? And once you've got it so it looks pretty evenly stirred up, about 6-8 inches down, kind of level it all out. Use your fork, just run it through, break up the chunks, right? Then we want to get a nice evenly distributed surface. And it needs to be somewhat compacted. If we just leave this loose like this and plant in here and then start watering it, all of this material is going to start sinking and settling with the addition of the water. So we're going to tamp it a little bit, and we're going to set the dirt so that it has a reasonable amount of compaction to it. But we don't want it tight. We just want to give it a chop. Breaks up all them last little chunks, get everything even. You want everything to be as level as possible and as evenly distributed and compacted as possible. It will drastically help irrigation. Dry spots and wet spots and that kind of stuff is not conducive to good gardening. So you want it even. And I just chop it back and forth, probably take about 2 or 3 passes over the whole garden. It's a good workout. It's a good warm-up exercise every morning I come out. I take a little section, I stir it really good. I've been doing this for about a month and a half now, working all these garden plots, and so we're getting to a point where our dirt's looking really good. It's warm, it's moist, it's full of worms, it's organic, it's got nutrients. I do add a little bit of organic fertilizer, like a natural composted type fertilizer, but I don't really get too overboard on it. It doesn't really need a lot of it. I don't need Miracle-Gro or anything. This place will be kind of overrun with vegetables here pretty soon without all use of any of that chemical stuff. Main thing is you just gotta, you know, talk to your dirt, listen to your dirt. It needs to be kind of fluffy. It needs to be organic. If you've got a lot of worms living in there, you've probably created something that's good and it's going to work out. You know, they like balanced soils, organic balanced soils. So we can take a look here. And as you can see, I mean, I've just used Colorado dirt, amendments, natural amendments, and come up with a pretty decent topsoil. Some of this stuff has been gathered from job sites and gravel pits and wherever I could find it, a few buckets at a time, but it's all mixed and it comes out pretty good. So let's take a look. So it's nice and fluffy. You can make a ball out of it. It's a pumpkin seed from the compost pile. Break that apart. No problem. Go over here. Finished bed, getting the drip irrigation laid out. There's rocks, gravel, and everything is in here. But it doesn't hurt anything. Got the Brussels sprouts. They're sprouting. Haha. Getting ready. Brussels sprouts. Okay. Got some. Would believe this to be a rogue here. Probably a cucumber. Could be a pumpkin or a squash, I suppose. These are carrots in the greenhouse. They're coming up nicely. These are carrots from last year. These are going to be seed carrots. They're doing good. They survived 20 below in the greenhouse. These are rogue cucumbers coming up, probably from last year. I didn't really stir this bed as well as some of these others. Okay, this is all ready for cucumbers. Got the drip irrigation laid out. Cucumbers will climb to the ceiling. It's time to move this spinach. Doesn't usually transplant well, but it's time to clear the way. This is green beans here in the future. Okay. We'll look over on this side, one more bed here. This bed is going to be pumpkins here soon, with one more Brussels sprout right here on the end. As you can see, and it looks like a gravel road, but there's a good level of organic matter in here, and it will grow. I work continuously pitching rocks out, but it doesn't seem to hurt anything, so I don't get too crazy with it. But that's how I do it. That's how I mix my dirt. That's how I get it going. That's where it all comes from. Colorado's not known for great topsoil, so you got to be creative about how you do it. So thank you guys for joining me today, and I hope that gave you a little insight and a little confidence to just go out and grab some dirt, start mixing some stuff up. You can make that into something useful. Get you a compost pile. They're super important. So thanks for joining me at this high elevation on a beautiful May day. And I'll be back again with another lesson on how we're going to construct a bed outside here. So stay tuned.